these MMA guys, these martial artists, a lot of them do not like buff dudes. Let's be honest. They hate buff dudes. And if you're buff and athletic, I'll forget about it. They're gonna be thirsty. And the thing is, I've dealt with this going into gyms and stuff. And I'm not a big guy. I'm not like Larry Wheels, all, super huge or anything. But I'm an athletically muscular guy and stuff. So even when I go into these gyms, I get it. These guys, man, they thirsty. I deal with dudes walking up. I want to spar. I want to spar. I'm going to get the fuck away from me, man. You know what I'm saying? They be thirsty as hell to spar. I want to spar like they're about ready to bust a nut or something. It's crazy. It's like, yo, my man, like, relax. I'm not on that, bro. I'm cool, And I try to be cool and respectful and nice. I compliment people and stuff just to, ease the tension, because you can read the room. If you're aware enough, you should be able to read a room, and you can see the eyeballs on you when you're a fit, muscular person. But when you go in there talking shit like Larry, man, he went in there basically saying, oh, he's stronger, he's bigger, these guys ain't gonna, man, when you're talking all that kind of shit, oh yeah, they're gonna be thirsty. They're gonna be thirsty to make an example out of you. And that's what happened. That's what happened. These guys, well, first he grappled a girl, and she was hanging in there. Now, she didn't submit him, but she was doing all right. Then he grapples another guy. Boom, guillotines him like in less than, 30 seconds. And Larry's like, oh, man, he's salty already. Then another guy's running up. I think it was two other guys, thirsty. I want to grapple. These guys, I'm telling you, they do not like buff dudes, especially if you're going in there talking shit. So really, I'm on the MMA guys' side in this situation because Larry started it. He did. He went in there talking smack. Like if he was humble and stuff and they just wanted to, go in there and, throw them around and stuff, I feel like they're assholes. You see toxicity on both sides. You see toxicity on the meathead side. You also see toxicity on the martial artist side. But in this situation, the meathead started. So I'm on the martial artist side. So he grabs this another guy. Bam, pushes Larry to the fence, holds him down, like nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing. And then boom, hoists him up, picks him up, swings him around, pulls a helicopter on his hand, bam, drops him, pulls that helicopter straight on his ass, boom. Man, it was bad, bro. It was bad, bro. And I said, Larry, he had it coming. And like I said, you got to be careful. These MMA gyms and stuff, they already don't like fit guys and stuff. And, they're of the mentality of, and guys, like I said, God forbid if you're muscular and stuff like that, forget about it. A lot of these guys, and when I say they hate guys with muscles, that's why when I go into a gym, I scope the room out. And if I don't see any really fit, athletic looking dudes or whatever, people in there, I don't spar, I don't mess with that gym like that. Because it tells me this is a hating ass gym. That's what it is. So a lot of these guys, they have the mentality of if you don't look like, I don't know, Tyson Fury or Fedor Emelianenko, you can't fight. They don't want to see a muscular guy being able to fight in any way. When I say they hate muscles, it's not just like the big bodybuilder type guys like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and Larry Wheels. They hate just functionally muscular people. On any sort of lean physique, they hate it. Like a Jose Aldo, like a Deontay Wilder. These guys, they're not crazy bodybuilder looking, but they have muscles. They're fit, And again, like these guys, they have a complex and they're quick. They're quick to want to tell you muscles don't mean shit. I've been hearing that shit my whole life. A lot of guys, they thirsty to want to tell you muscles don't mean shit. Well, no shit, Sherlock. That's why we're in there to learn. And that's why they're in there to learn. But I'm going to say this, and they're not going to like this. Muscles do mean a lot when muscles has skill. Like Larry, he was like, man, weight classes exist for a reason. And that's true. That's true. But Larry has a very myopic outlook on a lot of things. Yeah, weight classes exist for a reason only when you have two fighters that know how to fight. When you have two skilled fighters, the bigger, stronger fighter is going to win. That's why weight classes exist. But Larry, once again, very simple-minded. He doesn't understand that. And it's a shame because now, he has a whole bunch of people under his comments basically clowning him, laughing at him. Guys that Larry would most likely beat the fuck out of, they're laughing at him all in his comments. So let's be real, man. let's be honest. The average guy, Larry Wills, would beat the fuck up. Let's be honest. The guys that he was rolling with, those are exceptional guys. They're pros. All they do is that. So now, it's a good thing that this happened to Larry, but it's kind of a bad thing this happened to Larry because now you have a whole bunch of simpletons basically saying, see, size don't matter, muscles don't matter. Like, whoa, man. Keep things in perspective. Larry will still beat the fuck out of the average guy, especially a lot of the motherfuckers talking shit under his comments. You know what I mean? So it's like that. So when I hear guys say muscles don't mean anything, get real. Muscles mean a lot, only in tandem with skill and discipline. Muscles do mean a lot, but only when muscles have skill and discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if you look at the majority of the best fighters that have ever walked this planet, top level, cream of the crop. Most of them were muscular. They were jacked. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not talking about like a Ronnie Coleman, so crazy, buffed out of that. Like, that's ridiculous. Okay, not that. But I'm talking about, okay, let's run them down a little. Mike Tyson, jacked. I'm saying Jose Aldo, muscular, jacked. Matt Hughes in his prime, jacked, boy. All these Deontay Wilder, jacked. GSP, muscles. Brock Lesnar, muscles. You know what I mean? You can go down the list of all of the highest level fighters. They are all jacked. They were jacked. Islam Makhachev, I just botched his last name, but you know what I'm talking about. Islam, the champ. Look, if you ever seen Islam's back, go Google Islam's back. Ripped, jacked. You know what I mean? So muscles do matter. There are more muscular people, and I say, of course, you're gonna have exceptions. You have, like, for example, Fedor Emelianenko is like one of the only guys I can think. Very few I can think of that had his physique that was high level. Like Fedor, not a muscle in sight, not a striation, not a vein in sight. Fedor is whooping ass. One of my favorite fighters of all time. So Fedor, you have him. Butterbean. Butterbean was a fat dude, but he was knocking cats out. Butterbean was a pretty good boxer. Tyson Fury is a good boxer. So you got some. BJ Penn was another one. Without BJ, forget about it. It's rare. And, VJ was also one of those guys. He hated the muscle guys, too. He's made comments about that. But BJ, he ended up losing and stuff, too. But he was a pretty good fighter in his prime, and he was known for having some power. But these guys are anomalies. If you think about the heavy hitters, greatest knockout artists of all time, they were all jacked, man. The best boxers, Floyd Mayweather's ripped, athletic, lean. Most of them have dense, solid muscle. So muscle does matter. But again, only in tandem with skill and discipline. It ties into, that phrase, hard work beats talent. When talent refuses to work hard. But the same thing, it goes for muscles as well. Muscles, not having muscles beats muscles when muscles refuses to work hard, when muscles refuses to train and stuff. But when muscles applies itself, oh, holy cow, it's the truth, it's the real deal. So you got a lot of guys that want to hate on people with muscles and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is there are way more fighters, high-level fighters that are jacked and have muscles that are athletic than not. Look at it in a way to kind of further exhaust the point. Look at Royce Gracie. Now, when Royce Gracie hit the scene, they had the jiu-jitsu. They had all the skills in their pockets. Like, nobody knew what was going on. Like, these guys had, magic trick, voodoo and shit. Like, how are they doing this? They're submitting all of these big old dudes and buff dudes and stuff. But once the big buff dudes started learning the jiu-jitsu, you saw what happened. Because you think about it, man. Look at skinny ass, weak ass Royce Gracie. The only way he was able to pull that off, the only reason he was able to pull that off is because nobody knew what the hell he was doing. He had the secrets, the magic tricks in his magical hat and shit. But once the buff dude started learning, when he fought Matt Hughes manhandled his ass. Matt Hughes manhandled him. Didn't even use much technique. You understand what I'm getting at, So, he had that farmer strength. And so I know I'm exhausting the point here, but size and all of that stuff, it does matter. It really does, but only when you're training. Now the thing about Larry Wills is, I I'm rooting for Larry. Because now he's obviously been humiliated. He's salty about it, and I'm sure when he applies himself and learns the techniques, he'll be smacking around the average fighter, or not even want to say average fighter, but the average guy, the average Joe. I mean, he can do it now just from being as goddamn big as he is. He can beat up most guys just off size alone. You guys got to understand what those guys did to him. The average guy, that guy that picked him up, you think he would have been able to do that to Francis Ngannou, Brock Lesnar? Come on. John Jones, Daniel Cormier, he wasn't going to do that to you. He can't do that to any of those guys. Come on. So he did that because Larry doesn't know how to utilize his size to his advantage. He doesn't know how to utilize it as leverage. So really, I wasn't impressed, to be honest with you. And anybody that has trained for enough, you know that was pretty much going to be the outcome. So it's not that impressive. Okay, a guy that trains all the time, grapples all the time, is able to beat a guy that doesn't. You know, Larry is just pure size and muscle with no technique or skill. So duh,